Yo, how's it going, YouTube? Coming at you guys with a deck profile video. I can talk, I swear. Just got back from Anaheim regionals, where I did play ZoroToad, Zoro Control, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure you guys have played around with decks similar to this, or seen this deck itself before. But this is the list that I ended up playing at Anaheim regionals. That ended up taking down the whole event, piloted by Jimmy as well. Overhaul. Super glad I played the deck. Did not have the most luck in day 2. Day 1 went super smoothly, and then into day 2 I started hitting quite a few dead draws. So not a great day 2 showing from me. Top 32 is still decent, but I would have liked to have definitely had a stronger finish. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the deck. We'll start with the Pokemon here. Arangaroo. I'll go ahead and just kind of break down. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys know like why certain things are played, but I'll go ahead and run over them real fast. And then also just like the counts of cards, why we played certain counts of cards, especially comparing it to Portland regionals, where the squad also played Zoro Control, ZoroToad, ZoroToad Control. So the Arangaroo's in there, beat mill decks. Also, sometimes you just like have awkward mid games, early games, where you have to burn too many resources and you just need to get them back. Arangaroo picked up the slack in that area. That's why he's there. I didn't use him a whole ton this weekend, but I'm still glad we kept him in the deck. 4/4 Zoroark line, just trying to keep the deck consistent draw engine in the deck. We can attack with it. It draws us cards. It thins out our deck. It does it all. Zoroark's the best. That's why we play the Zoroark. Sudowoodo Roadblock, mostly in there just for Zoroark. Zoroark Garb, Egg, Skyfield, but against any Skyfield deck, it is pretty good. So yeah, that's why the Sudowoodo is there. Besides that, it doesn't really get too much playtime. I had a couple cute plays where I like limited my opponent's bench, knowing Lele for a supporter was pretty much their only out. So I like cut off that avenue of play from then. I don't know, it wasn't like too game changing, but it like locked up the game like instantly for me. So that's kind of cute. That's something cute the Sudowoodo can do, but generally just there for the Zoro Garb Egg matchup. Besides that, he doesn't get too much playtime. The one of Archon, just make sure you don't deck out once you get to like the final loop / lock for the situation you're trying to build into. Trade him away, put him back on the bottom of the deck, draw him, trade him away, put him back on the bottom of the deck, and you infinitely loop them with the Archon. You can never deck out, so you just wait for them to deck out. One Execute. Just don't want to burn too many resources through trades, Ultra Balls, Dowsing Machine, whatever it might be. And then if your win condition in a specific game / scenario is like a late game Plumeria lock, put the Archon on the bottom, draw into the Archon, propagate the egg, boom, there's your 2 cards to get rid of with a Plumeria. And you can just do that endlessly. So that's why we got the Archon, that's why we got the Egg. Giraffe, a great addition to like any control deck. Get lost, especially in Expanded where people play low counts of their supporters. A big one with this deck in certain matchup is they play their Guzma to get around Toad for a turn. And then you go Guzma back, get lost, and you get rid of the Guzma. Even if they have something like Ranger down the line, it's gone forever, and that's it, they're done. You can never use it again, pretty much. Sometimes they play 2 Guzma, but if you know they only play the 1 Guzma from game 1 or whatever, or you just like, depending on what deck they're playing, they probably only play 1 Guzma. Get them with the get lost. Super good card. I love this card a lot. I thought I would play against more than I did. I thought I'd play against more giraffes than I did, but really just only saw my giraffe team play in my games. 3 Lele, just trying to be consistent. We want, ideally you're looking for like turn 1 into Bridget or Fan Club into a follow-up of a draw supporter, and Lele can be both of them, so that's why you play the heavy Lele count. It can find you Bridget turn 1. If you already have a Bridget or a Fan Club, then it can find you the Colress on the turn 2. Sometimes you go 2 Leles, one into a Bridget / Fan Club, and the other one into Colress, Sycamore, and 1 Articuno. This is a big change from the Portland list, and that's because we added 2 basic energy. I mean, I personally expected to see Giraffe and Faba be way more heavily played, so we're like, we want basic energy to be like to kind of counteract the Faba and Giraffe. So like put the Articuno GX in, or put the basic water energy in. If you're playing the basic waters, may as well help you out your Buzzwole matchup, or like any matchup where they try and put a bunch of energy on anything, and add in the Articuno for the Cold Crush. I did Ice Wing once as well in the tournament. Not that it was impactful, just kind of cool that I got to do it. So you're able to hit him with the Cold Crush now, which extremely helps the Buzzwole matchup. Also, Rayquaza was pretty popular at Anaheim, so I'm super glad we included the Articuno. 3 Toads, our main attacker. I rarely attack with 3, but you want to start it and you want to find it, and it can be hard to find if you don't go for a turn 1 Fan Club, or if you just can't have access to Fan Club, because Bridget only finds Zaruas, Sudowoodo, Oranguru. It doesn't find Toad, basically. It can find Toad, but that's all you get, so you don't want to do that. So you just play a heavy Toad count. You want to start it as you're active, and you want to find it ASAP. So yeah, 3 Toad, get him in there. Overdue and Counter Catcher. I'm talking about Enhanced Hammer and Counter Catcher at the same time because they're both like tempo cards. It gives you like an extra powerful turn for a turn on specific turns where you can set it up. So you can go like Enhanced Hammer and Energy off their active, Counter Catcher, or Enhanced Hammer and Energy off their active, Guzma something up. And basically with how this deck works, it's kind of like using 2 supporters in a turn, and Counter Catcher works the same way. You can go Faba away your DCE, Counter Catcher up your Garbodor, Quickie Punch Lockout in the active, stuff like that. So they both act as like tempo cards throughout the game. I kind of would have liked a second Enhanced Hammer, but there's really no room for everything we wanted to try and fit. So one worked fine, one worked well enough. Second one would be nice. Dowsing Machine, it gets everything, and you're a control deck that basically tries to run your opponent out of resources, so you just need more resources than them. So Dowsing Machine gets you another resource. That's why we play it over Computer Search. 1 Field Blower, kind of would have liked a second Field Blower, but wasn't super impactful in a lot of my games. Really good against ZoroGarb, but besides that, not great. As a card in the deck. One worked decently well. One was probably more than enough. This would have been nice to have a second when you do play against ZoroGarbs. Yeah, basically just there for Garb matchups. The Drampa Garb matchup is so slow that 1 Field Blower is fine. The ZoroGarb matchup is faster, so you do want to find it earlier. Or if you get an early Quaking Punch, just don't let them get the tools on their Garb. It's usually fine anyways. One was decent. That's basically all it's there for, is to get blower tools off Garbs. 1 Rescue Stretcher. You want to be able to infinitely loop a Oranguru. Maybe you want a second Giraffe. I don't know. Maybe you want a second Sudowoodo. That's like the biggest one I think for me. Is Rescue Stretcher was consistently as another Sudowoodo for me. Again, the ZoroGarb matchup. Sometimes their only real decent play, if you like lock them out of Garb, is to just go back up the Sudowoodo so they can fill their bench, and then you just go Stretcher, put another one down, and then you kind of stuck them there because they only play 1 Guzma usually, and then you Quaking Punch, and they can't Field Seeker for it, and they're stuck. 4 Ultra Ball, just trying to be consistent. One thing that this deck doesn't play that a lot of Zoroark decks in general play is ways to find Zoroarks on top of Ultra Ball, which we don't play. The only Pokemon search we have is the 4 Ultra Ball. It would be nice to have like Evo Soda, Pokemon Communication, something like that, but there's no real room in the deck, so it's just the 4 Ultra Ball. It's adequate. It gets the job done. 4 VS Seeker. It's a deck that's just trying to run your opponent out of resources, so you just want as many resources as possible of all the different variations of ways you can lock your opponent out of the game. So VS Seeker gives you access to everything, so you want as many of those as possible because they can become any of the things you want it to be. So 4 VS Seeker. Stadium count, a little bit different than Portland. We got the 1 Parallel City. Reduce your Toad's damage so you can Quaking Punch lock something active for longer. Rough Seas, infinite healing for the Toad, especially in the Trev matchup is really good. And we added a Silent Lab for the Archie Slice matchup. So the basic game plan became find Silent Lab, find Counter Catcher or Guzma, bring up the Blastoise, put the Silent Lab in play, Quaking Punch lock the Blastoise active while you set up, to remove all their energy from play, just knock out the Blastoise, and they probably can't set up another one. There's a bunch of different options you have with that. But yeah, the Silent Lab helps a ton to get that going. 1 Acerola. Having a slow game, sometimes you need to reset some of your Pokemon if your opponent gets too far ahead. Just heal the Toad up, heal the Zoroark up, whatever it might be. Bridget and Fan Club, the 2 turn 1 setup supporters. Both are situationally better than the other. You definitely want to play the Fan Club though, because sometimes finding Toad on your first turn is just what you need to do. You just need to get a Toad out there, get him ready to go. The 3 draw supporters, Colress and Sycamore. Sometimes they get too far ahead and you still need to end them down to a low hand size and Quaking Punch lock them. Sometimes you don't want to shuffle draw their hand and there's not a Pokemon in play to use Colress, use the Sycamore. Sometimes there's a ton of Pokemon in play and all you want to do is draw and see as many cards as possible, use the Colress. So you got all 3 options there. Sometimes one of them is prized, but you can usually make do with the other 2. Faba, super strong, the best control supporter that we currently have access to in Pokemon. It's insane. It does it all. It gets rid of tools, special energy, and stadiums, and it puts them in the Lost Zone so they can't even reuse them. Yeah, Faba is insane. I thought I would see way more of Faba this weekend. I was actually surprised to see as little as I did. Yeah, Faba is crazy good. Crazy good card. You only really need 1 of it though. You have the VS Seekers to reuse it. You don't really need to use it more than like 2 or 3 times, so you don't play the heavier count of it. 1 Gladion, play a lot of 1 of stuff, and we have a lot of time to kind of like set up into our locks, so we can take the time to play the Gladion, find a card, and then go with it from there. Guzma, we sometimes want to move our active, we sometimes want to move their active out of the way. Got the Guzma for that. Would play a Lysander if we didn't want to move our active so often. But yeah, so Guzma is just a little bit better than the Lysander. 2 Lusamine. We're trying to have more, just more. It's not about, like, it is about running our opponents out of resources, but it's more so just having more resources than our opponent in a way as well. So we have infinite resources to set up a bunch of different game situations and game plans where our opponent cannot physically win the game through Lusamine. So yeah, we got the 2 Lusamine. We have, when you go Lusamine for Lusamine plus whatever, you have infinite of everything. Big ones are like Rough Seas, infinite Rough Seas against Trevenant, infinite Parallel City against Zoroark decks, infinite Plumerias against stuff like Buzzwole. It creates all kinds of infinites and you just can't lose the game. Infinite Handiworks, and you just sit there and like slow. If your opponent's not doing anything, thinking they can draw past, then you just go into, okay, Lusamine for Lusamine Handiwork, play Handiwork. Next turn, Lusamine for Lusamine Handiwork, next turn, play Handiwork. And you eventually run them out of cards. 1N, already went over that. 2 Plumeria. These are for the more energy-based decks, Buzzwole, Rayquaza. Need to slow them down and actually generally run them out of energy to win. So that we got the 2 Plumeria for that. You just keep going Plumeria. You just keep Plumeria them. That's why we play 2 Plumeria, because in those matchups you really need to find Plumeria. And it's nice to have the extra cards as energy removal anyways. Even in the Zoroark matchups, you'll use sometimes Plumeria there. DCEs, if you can't find the Fob, I can't find the E-Hammer, just go ahead and throw a Plumeria at them. Talked about Fan Club, talked about Sycamore, Handiwork, just talked about it. Like, if your opponent is just sitting there and draw passing, you need some way to like kind of progress the game, so you have to still win in a certain amount of time. You won't always be able to like Quaking Punch draw all your prizes or something like that. So just start hitting them with Handiwork, and then they have to do something. They have to respond to it. If they sit there, then you'll just eventually win through Handiworking them. Team Skullgrunt. We don't want our opponent to just sit there and kind of like build up a perfect hand to pull off a combo to break out of the lock. They'll usually be able to break out of the lock a couple times in a game, and it's just making sure they can't do it whenever they want, as efficiently as they want, and as often as they want. So Team Skullgrunt really limits, same thing with Handiwork, really limits how often they get to set up the perfect hands where they get to like break out of the lock for a turn and maybe knock out a Toad, Guzma knock out something off the bench, whatever. If we constantly are using Skullgrunt and looking at their hand, taking away their energy, once we get them into a situation where we know that's all they need, that's all they're looking for is probably like energy plus Guzma, energy plus something. Maybe they're digging for their Guzma. We can sit there and just Skullgrunt them, take the energy out. Now they have to find energy and the Guzma, not just the Guzma. So Skullgrunt is super good at keeping your opponent on a clock. Otherwise, they have so much time to like set up all their plays. If they just get into a point where if they set up back-to-back big plays, and you can't limit them in any other way because they're not putting anything in play, you can't Plumeria energy if they don't attach it, right? Then we just go Skullgrunt and we take the energy out of their hand, get rid of it. And then they have to go find more energy, and that digs deeper in their deck, and then at some point we just start using Handiwork. So yeah, 2 Fighting Fury Belt. We like to keep our Toads tanky. If Toad with the Fighting Fury Belt cannot be one-shot by a Zoroark with a Skyfield and a full bench. That's a big one. The extra damage is super nice to actually just start pressuring KO things. Extra HP is nice for the same thing, making it harder for them to pressure KO our Toads. It does it all. Putting a Fighting Fury Belt on a Pseudo when a Zoro Garb does not have Garb set up means they actually can't Guzma KO Pseudo, so they're kind of stuck. That really sticks them really hard when you can get the Fighting Fury Belt on the Sudowoodo. So a whole ton of things the Fighting Fury Belts do. Yeah, they do it all. Floatstone, we want to have some mobility in the deck. It's not super important. We usually give up whatever if we don't start with a Toad, whatever it is, we usually just let it get knocked out. But we don't want to leave ourselves with no mobility in the deck. You know, we still have Guzma. We sometimes need a free retreat off of something like that. So we still have the one of Floatstone. 40 CE. That's what we attack with our main guys with, the Toad, the Zoroark. I mean, Toad is our main attacker, and sometimes at a certain point you can just be like, I'm just going to draw prizes and start attacking with Zoroark. But usually we're just chilling with Toad. 2 Water Energy, kind of already went over this. We want them to be able to get around Giraffe and Faba, or extend our game plans against Giraffe and Faba. And it also gives us access to the Articuno. We can also Grenade Hammer. I think I Grenade Hammered once or twice in the tournament. Overall did not get a whole ton of use out of them. It was just nice to have the extra energy to draw into to use Giraffe or Oranguru early in some games. I did get use out of Cold Crush, but it didn't give me the use I thought I would get out of the Water Energy in the tournament, which was like playing around people's Get Lost and people's Fabas with them. That never really happened for me, but I'm so glad we played the energy. It kept the deck a little bit more consistent, and just being able to do things turn to turn. Like some turns, like I would whiff the DCE, but I would have Guzma or Floatstone. I would just go, okay, I'm just going to Get Lost for the turn, or I'm just going to Resource Management for the turn. And they just can't sit, even though I'm not Quaking Punching them and limiting what they're doing, they can't let me sit there and do that forever, because I'll have so many resources that they'll just, it's not even close. So yeah, that's the deck. If you guys have any more questions about the deck, be sure to leave those in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you enjoyed the content, subscribe. Links to my Twitter and Twitch in the description below. Be sure to check those out. And I'll be back with a gameplay video with this deck soon. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day, and peace.